There's a fly in this room. I hear it, but I don't see it. Does that make me insane? Yeah, let me get it. Got it! Hello everybody, my name is Stampy and welcome back to my lovely world. Hello everyone, my name is Stonesy Boy and welcome back to Reading with Stonesy. Today we are reading pages... Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, yeah, I noticed that too. Last time I ended the chapters off wrong. We're not reading chapters 6 to 14, we are reading chapters 9 to 14. That doesn't make sense to go from chapter 8 to chapter 6, and I'm sorry I didn't change it before. I'm so sorry. I left you guys in fake suspension. So I'm sorry about that, but welcome back to Reading with Stonesy. Today we're reading pages 25 to 40. Maybe I'm the one that's wrong. I don't know. I've killed a fly with my own hands. Anyways, today we're reading chapters 9 to 14, pages 25 to 40, and I'm sorry I've wasted so much of your time. So without further ado, let's begin. Chapter 9. In order to make his escape, I believe he took advantage of the migration of the wild birds. In the morning of his departure, he put his planet in order. He carefully raked out the active volcanoes. The little prince possessed 2 active volcanoes, which are very convenient for warming his breakfast. He also possessed 1 extinct volcano, but as he said, you never know. You never know. So he raked out an extinct volcano too. If they were properly raked out, volcanoes burn gently and regularly without eruptions. Volcanic eruptions are like fires in the chimney. Of course, on our Earth, we are much too small to rake out our volcanoes. That is why they cause so much trouble. The little prince also uprooted, a little sadly, the last baobab shoots he had believed had never be coming back, but as all these familiar tasks seemed very sweet to him the last morning, then he watered the flower one last time. He put her under a glass. He felt like crying. "Goodbye," he said to the flower, but she did not answer him. "Goodbye," he repeated. The flower coughed, but it was because she had a cold. I've been silly," he told him at last. "I ask your forgiveness. Try to be happy." As he was surprised that there were no reapproaches, he stood there, quite bewildered, holding the glass spell in midair. He failed to understand the calm sweetness. "Of course I love you," the flower told him. "It was my fault, you never know. It doesn't matter. But you were as silly as I was. Try to be happy. Put the glass thing down. I don't want it anymore." "But the wind, my cold isn't that bad. The night air would do me good. I'm a flower." "But the animals, I need to put up with 2 or 3 caterpillars if I want to know the butterflies. Apparently they're very beautiful. Otherwise, who will visit me? You'll be far away. As for the big animals, I'm not afraid of them. I have my own claws." She naively showed off her 4 thorns. Then she added, "Don't hang around like this. It's irritating. You've made up your mind to leave. Now go." When she didn't want to see her crying, she was such a proud flower. Chapter 10. He happened to be in the vicinity of asteroid 325, 326, 327, 328, 329, and 330. So he began by visiting them to keep himself busy and to learn something. The first one was inhabited by a king, wearing a purple and entrim as he was sitting on the simple yet majestic throne. "Ah, here's a subject," the king exclaimed when he caught sight of the little prince. And the little prince wondered, how can he know who I am if he's never seen me before? He didn't realize that for kings, the world is extremely simplified. All men are subjects. "Approach the throne so I can get a better look at you," said the king, very proud of being king for someone at last. The little prince looked around for the place to sit down, but the planet was covered by a magnificent cloak, so he remained standing. And since he was tired, he yawned. "It is a violation of etiquette to yawn in the king's presence," the monarch told him. "I forbid you to do so." "I can't help it," answered the little prince, quite embarrassed. "I made a long journey. I haven't had much any sleep." "Then I command you to yawn," said the king. "I haven't seen anyone yawn for years. For me, yawns are courtesy. Curiosity. Come on, yawn again. It is an order." "That intimidates thee. I can't do it now," said the little prince, blushing deeply. Well, well, the king replied, then I command you to yacht sometimes and sometimes too, he said, sputtering a little. He seemed annoyed, for the king insisted that his authority be universally respected. He would tolerate no disobedience, being an absolute monarch, but since he was a kindly man, all his commands were reasonable. If I were to command, he would often say, if I were to command a general to turn into a seagull, and if the general did not obey, that would be the general's fault. It wouldn't be the general's fault. It would be mine. May I sit down? The little prince timidly inquired. I command you to sit down, the king replied, majestically gathering up the fold of his arimi robe. But the little princess was wondering. The planet was tiny. Over what king really reign? Sire, he ventured, excuse me for asking. I command you to ask, the king hastened to say. Sire, over what do you reign? Over everything, the king answered with a great simplicity. Over everything? With a discreet gesture, the king pointed to the planets, to the other planets, and to the stars. Over all that? Asked the little prince. Over all that, the king answered. For not only was he an absolute monarch, but the universal monarch as well. And the stars obey you? Of course, the king replied. They obey immediately. I tolerate no insubordination. Such power amazed the little prince, and if he had wielded it himself, he could have watched not 44, but 72, or even 100, even 200 sunsets of the same day, not ever having to move his chair. And since he was feeling rather sad on account of remembering his own little planet, which he had forsaken, he ventured to ask a favor of the king. I'd like to see the sunset. Do me a favor, your majesty. Command the sun to set. If I command the general to fly, then one flower to the next like a butterfly, or to write a tragedy, or to turn into a seagull, and if the general did not carry out my command, which is of us would be the wrong, the general or me? You would be, said the little prince quite firmly. Exactly. One must command from each what one can perform, the king went on. Authority is based first upon reason. If you command your subjects to jump in the ocean, there will be a revolution. I am entitled to command obedience because my orders are reasonable. And my sunset, insisted the little prince, who had never let go of the question once he had asked it. You shall have your sunset. I shall command it. But I shall wait, according to my science of government, until conditions are favorable. And then will that be? Inquired the little prince. Well, replied the king, first consulting a large calendar. Well, that would be around, that'll be tonight, around 7:40. And you'll see how I well obeyed. The little prince yawned. He was regretting his lost sunset, and besides, he was already growing a little bored. I have nothing further to do, he told the king. I'm going to be on my way. Do not leave, answered the king, who was so proud of having a subject. Do not leave. I shall make you my minister. A minister of what? Of justice. But there's no one here to judge. You never know, the king told him. I have not yet explored the whole of my realm. I am very old. I have no room for a carriage. It wears me to rock. Oh, but I've already seen it for myself, said the little prince, leaning forward to glance one more time at the other side of the planet. There's no one over there either. Then you shall pass judgment on yourself, the king answered. That is the hardest thing of all. It is much harder to judge yourself than to judge others. If you succeed in judging yourself, it is because you are truly a wise man. But I can judge myself anywhere, said the little prince. I don't need to live here. Well, the king said. I have good reason to believe that there's an old rat living somewhere on my planet. I hear him at night. You can judge that old rat. From time to time you will condemn him to death. That way his life will depend on your justice. Not you'll pardon him each time for economy's sake. There's only one rat. I don't like condemning anyone to death, the little prince said, and now I think I'll be on my way. No, said the king. The little prince, having completed his preparations, had no desire to aggrieve the old monarch. If your majesty desires to promptly obey it, he will give me a reasonable command. He might command me, for instance, to leave before his minute was up. It seems to me the conditions are favorable. The king, having made no answer, the little prince hesitated at first, and then, with a sigh, took his leave. I'll make you my ambassador, the king said hastily, shouted after him. He had a great air of authority. Grown-ups are so strange, the little prince said to himself as he went on his way. Chapter 11. The second planet was inhabited by a very vain man. Ah, a visit from an admirer, he exclaimed when he caught sight of the little prince, still at some distance to a vain man. Other people are admirers. Hello, said the little prince. That's a funny hat you're wearing. It's for answering acclamations, the very vain man replied. Unfortunately, no one ever comes this way. Is that so? Said the little prince, who did not understand what the vain man was talking about. Clap your hands, directed the man. The little prince clapped his hands, and the vain man tipped his hat in modest acknowledgement. This is more entertaining than he visited the king. The little prince had to himself as he continued clapping. The very vain man continued tipping his hat in acknowledgement. After 5 minutes of this exercise, the little prince tired of the game's monotony. And will it make the hat fall off? He asked. But the vain man did not hear him. Vain men never hear anything but praise. Do you really admire me a great deal? He asked the little prince. What does that mean, admire? To admire means to acknowledge that I am the most handsomest, best dressed, and richest and the intelligent man on the planet. But you're the only man on your planet. Do me a favor. Admire me all the same. I admire you, said the little prince, with a little shrug of the shoulders. But what is there about admiration that interests you so much? The little prince went on to say. Grown-ups are certainly very strange, he said to himself, as he continued on his journey. Chapter 12. The next planet was inhabited by a drunkard. His visit was a very brief one, but it plunged the little prince into a deep depression. What are you doing here? He asked, what are you doing here? He asked the drunkard, whom he sunk into silence before a collection of empty bottles in full lunge. Drinking, replied the drunkard with a gloomy expression. Why are you drinking? The little prince asked. To forget, replied the drunkard. To forget what? Inquired the little prince, who was already feeling sorry for him. To forget what I'm ashamed, confessed the drunkard, hanging from his head. What are you ashamed of? Inquired the little prince, who wanted to help. Of drinking, concluded the drunkard, withdrawing into silence for good, and the little prince went on his way, puzzled. Grown-ups are certainly very, very strange, he said to himself, as he continued on his journey. The fourth planet belonged to a businessman. This person was so busy that he hadn't even raised his head when the little prince arrived. Hello, said the little prince. Your cigarette's gone out. Tooth. 3 and 2 make 5. 5 and 7, 12. 12 and 3, 15. Hello, 15 and 7, 22. 22 and 6, 28. No time to light it again. 26 and 5, 31. Phew, that amounts to 501,622,731. 500 million, what? You're still here? 501 million? I don't remember. I have so much work to do. I'm a serious man. I can't be bothered with rivals. 2 and 5, 7. 501 million, what? Repeated the little prince, who had never in his life let go of the question once he was asked it. The businessman raised his head. For the 54 years I've inhabited this planet, I've been interrupted only 3 times. The first time was 22 years ago when I was interrupted by a beetle that had fallen onto my desk. From God knows where, I made a terrible noise and I made 4 mistakes in my calculations. The second time was 11 years ago when I was interrupted by a fit rheumatism. I didn't know enough exercise. I haven't had time to take strolls. I'm a serious person. The third time is right now. Where was I? 501 million. Million what? The businessman realized that he had no hope of being left in peace. Of those little things you sometimes see in the sky. Flies? No, the little shiny things. Bees? No, the little golden things that make lazy people daydream. Now, I'm a serious person. I have no time for daydreaming. Ah, you mean stars. Yeah. Yes, that's it, stars. And what do you do with 500 million stars? 501,622,731. I'm a serious person, and I'm accurate. And what do you do with those stars? What do I do with them? Yes, nothing. I own them. You own the stars? Yes. But I've already seen the king who kings don't own. They reign over. It's quite different. And what does owning the stars do you? It does me a good of being rich. And what does it do you to be rich? It lets me buy other stars if somebody discovers them. The little prince said to himself, this man argues like the drunkard. Nevertheless, he asked more questions. How can someone own the stars? To whom they belong, retorted the businessman grumpily. I don't know. To nobody? Then they belong to me, because I thought of it first. And that's all it takes? Of course. When you find a diamond that belongs to nobody in particular, then it's yours. When you find an island that belongs to nobody in particular, it's yours. When you're the first person to have an idea, you patent it, and it's yours. Now I own the stars, since no one before me ever thought of owning them. That's true enough, the little prince said. And what do you do with them? I manage them. I count them, then count them again, the businessman said. It's difficult work, but I'm a serious person. The little prince was still not satisfied. If I own a scarf, I can tie it around my neck and take it away. If I own a flower, I can pick it and take it away. But you can't pick the stars? No, but I can put them in a bank. What does that even mean? That means I write a number of the stars on a slip of paper, then I lock that slip of paper in a drawer. And that's all? That's enough. That's amusing, thought the little prince, and even poetic, but not very serious. The little prince had very different ideas about serious things from those who like grown-ups. I own a flower myself, he continued, which I water every day, and I own 3 volcanoes, which I rake every week. And then I rake the extinct one. You never know. It's some of those volcanoes. It's useful to my flower that I own them, but you're not useful to the stars. The businessman opened his mouth, but nothing had to say in reply, and the little prince went on his way. Grown-ups are certainly quite extraordinary, was all he said to himself, and he continued his journey. Chapter 14. The 5th planet was very strange. It was smallest of all, and there was enough room for a sleep lamp and a little lighter. The little prince couldn't quite understand the use of the street lamp, and a light lighter could be up in the sky on a planet without many people and not a single house. However, he said to himself, it's quite possible this man is absurd, and less absurd than the thing. He's a very vain man, the businessman, and the drunkard. At least his work has some meaning, and then the lights of the lamp, and it has been bringing one more star to life, or one more flower. Then he puts out his lamp, and sends the flower or the star to sleep, which is a fine occupation, and therefore truly useful. Then the little prince reached his planet. He greeted the lamplighter respectfully. Good morning. Why have you just put out your lamp? Orders, the lamplighter answered. Good morning. What orders are those? To put out my street lamp. Good evening. And he lit his lamp again. But why have you just lit your lamp again? Orders. I don't understand, the little prince said. There's nothing to understand, said the lamplighter. Orders are orders. Orders are orders. Good morning. Then he put out his lamp. Then he wiped his forehead with a red-cheeked handkerchief. It's a terrible job I have, or you should be reasonable enough. I put the lamp out mornings and lit after dark. I had the rest of the day for my own affairs and the rest of the night for sleeping. And since your orders have changed... Orders haven't changed, the lamplighter said. That's just the trouble. Year by year, the planet is turning faster and faster, and orders haven't changed. Which means? Which means that now the planet revolves once a minute. I don't have an instant's rest. I light my lamp and turn it once every minute. That's funny. Your days are 1 minute long? It's not funny at all, the lamplighter said. You and I have already been talking to each other for a month. A month? Yes, 30 minutes, 30 days. Good evening. And he lit his lamp. The little prince watched him, and growing fonder of the lamplighter, who was faithful to orders, he remembered a certain sunsets that he himself used to follow in other days. Merely by shifting his chair, he wanted to help his friend. You know, I could show you a way to take the rest whenever you want to. I always want to rest, the lamplighter said, for it was possible to be faithful and lazy at the same time. The little prince continued. Your planet is so small that you can walk around it 3 strides. All you have to do is walk more slowly. All you have to be in the sun. Then, when you want to take your rest, you just walk. And the day will last as long as you want it to. What does that do me, the lamplighter said. When the one thing in life I want to do in life is sleep. Then you're out of luck, the little prince said. I am, said the lamplighter. Good morning. And they'll put the lamp out. Now that man, the little prince said to himself as he continued his journey, that man would be despised by all the others, by the king, by a very vain man, by the drunkard, by the businessman. Yet, he's the only one who doesn't strike me as ridiculous. Perhaps it's because he's thinking of something besides himself. He heaved a sigh of regret and said to himself again, that man is the only one I might have made a friend. But this planet is really too small, and there's not room for 2. And thus the little prince dared not admit that he was not regretted leaving the planet because it was blessed for 1,440 sunsets every 24 hours. There is a 6th planet. However, that's for next time. So, today we read pages 25 to 40, chapters 9 to 14. We did it in about 20 minutes, which is about average. Sorry, I had to move some stuff because I do have food, but I'm refusing to eat it because... So, today we read this. It's a pretty short story, honestly, all in all. But next time we're reading pages 40 to 65. I really hope these numbers are correct. 40 to 60. Seriously. 40 to 65 and chapters 15 to 22. Uh-oh. What's the uh-oh stone? Well, the uh-oh stone is
that now it says chapter 15 and 2, and we all know that ain't correct. So chapters 15 to 22. So next time we're reading pages 40 to 65, about the same length as today, and chapters 15 to 22. Today took it a little longer because I was trying to figure out the voices to do, and next time I have to figure out the voice for the next guy. So, because it's a fantastic, wonderful day, people like me, Fisher, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And to see you guys next time. Bye-bye!